Many jobs and hobbies require excellent vision, and glasses and contacts can be a hindrance. Imagine being able to wake up and see the alarm clock, or see distant faces in the crowd, play golf, tennis, swim, or ski without depending upon corrective eyewear. Hi, I'm Dr. Corey Lessner, and I'd like to thank you for considering Millennium for your vision correction experience. In about the same amount of time it'll take for me to correct your vision, I will explain how the eye works, how lasers help individuals to see more clearly, and finally, how we determine who is a candidate. Sight is our most valued sense, so it should come as no surprise that most people are scared to death of what I do. But when patients sit up immediately after their treatment with big smiles or happy tears, they say things like, "Is that it? Wow, I can see, and why didn't I do this sooner?" In 2013, to prove how safe modern LASIK is, Millennium became the first, and we believe only center in the world to stream all of its procedures live on the internet. We do this because we're confident that nothing will go wrong. In fact, studies have shown these procedures are actually safer than the long-term use of contact lenses. If LASIK is the airline flight for people who are afraid of flying, then contacts are the highway drive to and from the airport with people texting all around you. It's likely you're afraid of the wrong thing. In the time that you watch this video, some people will lose some or all of their vision permanently as the result of infections caused by the improper care of their contacts. So I invite you to join the millions before you who now enjoy a visual freedom that was previously unimaginable. What would your life be like if you didn't have to depend on glasses or contacts to see the world more clearly? I hope to show you have nothing to be afraid of. Your eye is like a camera with a series of lenses in front that bring the world into focus. When light enters the eye, it is bent or refracted by a clear, strong tissue at the surface called the cornea. It then passes through the natural lens of the eye and comes to focus on the film called the retina. Refractive errors occur when the cornea and lens do not bring the object being viewed into focus. In nearsightedness, also known as myopia, light entering the eye focuses at a point in front of the retina. Nearsightedness occurs when the eye is too long or when the cornea is too steep. Distant objects appear blurry while near objects are in focus. Since the eye cannot be shortened, laser to correct myopia works by flattening the center of the cornea. In farsightedness or hyperopia, light entering the eye focuses behind the retina. Farsightedness occurs in eyes that are either too short or when the cornea is too flat. Objects nearby appear blurry while distant objects are clear. With age, distance vision is affected as well. Surgery to correct hyperopia works by making the central cornea relatively steeper. With astigmatism, the problem is not the length of the eye, but the fact that the cornea contains different curvatures and is shaped more like a football than a basketball. As a result, objects are not clearly focused, and vision is somewhat blurry at any distance. Astigmatism often occurs in combination with myopia or hyperopia. Finally, presbyopia, literally old vision, is the inability to see near objects when distance vision is normal. Beginning in the mid-40s, progressive hardening of the natural lens of the eye occurs and results in its inability to change shape to focus on near objects. Since the excimer laser treats the cornea, it cannot directly correct presbyopia. Instead, we create nearsightedness in the non-dominant eye, a strategy called monovision. One can only know if they like monovision through a demonstration. If you are over age 40, a trial of this option will be performed as part of your evaluation. About half the world's population requires assistance to see more clearly. For centuries, the only way to correct these problems was with glasses and more recently contact lenses. In the late 1980s, scientists began to look to the excimer laser, designed by IBM to etch computer chips, as an alternative. Without causing any damage to adjacent tissues, its cool ultraviolet beam works by breaking molecular bonds, vaporizing tissue a fraction of a micron at a time. In fact, the excimer is so accurate it takes about 200 pulses just to etch through a single strand of human hair. The first trials of the excimer were conducted in the US in 1988, and in 1995, the FDA approved its use for low to moderate myopia. Now, 2 decades later, with today's newest technologies, we are able to correct a broader range of visual errors with greater accuracy, safety, and speed than ever before. There are 2 locations on the cornea that can be treated, just under the surface or in its middle layers. The original procedures approved by the FDA were performed just under the surface and were called photorefractive keratectomy, or PRK. During PRK, the cornea's protective surface layer or epithelium is removed prior to sculpting with the laser. Variants of PRK, such as HaveLASIK or LASIK, differ only in their attempt to preserve the epithelium, which is reflected back before the treatment. For the purposes of this video, we will refer to all of these surface treatments collectively as PRK. In the early 90s, surgeons in Europe combined the accuracy of the excimer with the comfort and rapid rehabilitation of a flap-creating procedure developed in Colombia. When the laser is used to remove tissue from the cornea's middle layers, it is called LASIK, an acronym for Laser-Assisted In Situ Keratomileusis. The procedure involves 2 steps. In the first, the surgeon creates a hinged flap of corneal tissue, and in the second, the flap is folded back and the excimer, as in PRK, is used to sculpt the cornea. The flap is floated back in place and heals without the need for stitches. To illustrate the difference, consider a 400-page book with a 50-page thick cover. In PRK, the cover of the book is removed or folded back. The first pages of the book are removed and the cover is allowed to grow back. In LASIK, the cover and the first 70 or so pages are folded back on the binding. The middle pages of the book are removed and the cover and front pages are repositioned. Both procedures ultimately achieve excellent results. However, LASIK is preferred by most because it offers faster visual recovery, measured in hours rather than days, greater comfort, and statistically better outcomes. In addition, if laser retreatment is required, the existing flap is simply relifted, whereas with PRK, the procedure, with its longer healing time, must be repeated. When it was first introduced in the US, flap creation could only be accomplished with a bladed device called a microkeratome. Fortunately, in 2004, femtosecond laser technology was introduced and is now used by most non-discount providers. Since almost all of the risk associated with LASIK occurred during flap creation, femtosecond technology has not only improved overall precision, it has also effectively eliminated most of the complications. A femtosecond is 1/4,000th of a second. To put this in perspective, light from the sun circles around the Earth 8 times in 1 second, but only once around a human hair in a femtosecond. During the procedure, hundreds of thousands of pulses are delivered every second at a specific depth in the cornea, about 1/8 of a millimeter below the surface. Each pulse creates a microbubble with a byproduct of carbon dioxide and water. When nearly 1 million of these bubbles are interconnected, a flap of incredibly precise, uniform thickness is created. Because femtoflaps are thinner, smaller in diameter, and spare more of the fine nerves associated with corneal sensation, patients typically experience less dryness postoperatively. In addition, patients with thinner corneas who were previously not candidates may now be, since the thinner flaps leave more tissue in the corneal bed for sculpting. If you looked into LASIK years ago and were told that your corneas were too thin for treatment, you may now be a candidate. In 2003, Millennium became the first non-investigational center in the country to acquire a new generation flying spot excimer laser called the Allegretto 200. We upgraded this platform in 2008 and yet again in 2013 to Alcon's EX500. Featuring the fastest delivery system available in the world today at 500 pulses per second, it also features an incredibly precise high-speed tracker which samples eye movements 1,000 times per second. It takes only 1/500th of a second to reposition its pulses, so it doesn't matter if you move your eyes. Because it is 25 times faster than older systems, its beam size can be much smaller and the energy delivered more uniform. This produces smoother treatments, which in turn improve the quality of vision and patient satisfaction. Finally, the EX500 incorporates a treatment feature which helps to reduce or eliminate glare, halos, and other nighttime visual artifacts that were problematic in patients with larger pupils when LASIK was first introduced. In 2017, another laser corneal sculpting option became available for nearsighted individuals. SMILE is an acronym for Small Incision Lenticular Extraction. As in femtoflap creation, 8 million laser pulses are placed in a circular pattern inside of the cornea. However, rather than creating a side cut to complete a flap, a second pass of femtopulses is delivered to create a disc of tissue inside the cornea. Its shape is comparable to the amount of tissue removed during the second step in LASIK. The laser then makes a small connecting side cut tunnel to access the disc through which it is removed and discarded. The center of the cornea flattens and corrects the prescribed amount of nearsightedness. Although not currently as accurate as LASIK, because no flap is created, SMILE offers an alternative for those at higher risk of eye trauma. And since there is no flap, it spares even more of the corneal nerves responsible for reflex tearing, so may be preferable in those with existing dry eye issues. By now it should be apparent the technology we use today bears little resemblance to what we used 20 years ago. Laser flap creation, vastly improved speed, delivery systems, and beam quality, high-speed tracking and blending treatments have completely transformed LASIK. If you walked into a cellular store looking to purchase a new generation smartphone, you wouldn't expect to be offered an iPhone 4. Unlike the mobile industry, though, ours has failed to inform the public about advances in LASIK with something as simple as a version or name change. To complicate matters, it's still possible to find old and/or bladed version LASIK on the cheap in centers throughout the country, but in doing so, you will unsuspectedly sacrifice visual quality and safety to save money. To help make treatments more affordable, we offer 0 down, 0% 24-month financing. This calculates to about $210 per month, or $7 per day. It's also important to consider, though, that this cost isn't occurring in a vacuum and is offset by ongoing eye care expenses. If you wear contacts, the monthly cost for supplies is around $40, or roughly $500 annually. Since most will also require backup glasses, one typically spends about $4,000 over a 5-year period and will have similar costs to look forward to over the subsequent 5. In effect, you are already perpetually financing your vision correction needs. For the additional cost of a cup of coffee, you could be enjoying lens-free living. Upon your arrival, our technicians will perform tests to determine how stable your prescription has been, checking your pupil size under various light conditions, and obtaining a sophisticated color map of the cornea to rule out subtle irregularities or the potential for instability. We will then take time to review your specific wants and needs and answer any questions you have. Even though most are good ocular candidates for LASIK, ultimately, your expectations will determine how satisfied you are with your overall experience and results. So while most patients feel comfortable driving a car by the very next morning, and more than 50% report that the vision is already better than it ever was with glasses or contacts, you are not a statistic, and it may take longer for your vision to stabilize. About 5% of patients may even require mild fine-tuning known as an enhancement to achieve their desired outcome. This is not a complication, but rather an anticipated event in a small subset of patients. One should therefore think of LASIK as a process rather than as an event. Where indicated, enhancements are quite easy to undergo and are performed when vision is stable, typically 3 to 4 months post-operatively. During your consultation, we would be more than happy to share our outcome statistics for patients with similar prescriptions treated at our facility. To get to know us and what we do better, you can review the extensive collection of patient testimonials on our website, watch full-length patient procedures on our HaveLASIK Live YouTube page, read hundreds of reviews about us on the internet, and follow us on the social media platforms you utilize. It is our hope that we've replaced your fear with knowledge. At Millennium, we believe that everyone should get the most they can out of life, so we come to work each day committed to helping people do just that. Because we don't believe life was meant to be viewed through a piece of glass or plastic. Life is about freedom. We know that your eyes are precious, and we look forward to providing you with a level of care and service that exceeds your expectations. Instead of watching the world go by, be a part of it. On behalf of the entire team at Millennium Laser Eye Centers, we look forward to working with you.